Hey there, Guardians! A while back, somebody commented on my Saint 14 Void Titan build asking for an update to the build. And while I didn't think that the Saint 14 video needed an update, I thought it would be a good excuse to try out other Void Titan builds. I did a little bit of finagling and I found something seriously fun. It's not necessarily endgame viable, but it's a really different way to play and it just works really well. So I'd love to show you my Void Titan No Backup Plan edition. Let's first go over what No Backup Plans actually does. It's an exotic arm piece for the Titan, and if you're on a Void subclass, rapid final blows with a shotgun or defeating a powerful combatant with a shotgun will grant a Void Overshield and start health regen. While you have this Overshield, shotguns do more damage, and shotgun final blows also refresh the Overshield. Normally, this is the part where I start talking about subclass and mods and things like that, but I'm going to try something else. I'm going to first talk about what is your gameplay loop. With the no backup plans, the game loop looks something like this. You're getting Overshield, maintaining Overshield, getting Orbs of Power, keeping track of your ammo count, rinse and repeat. Now you may be wondering, wait, what do you mean by keep track of your ammo count? What are you talking about? We don't have a backup plan, so I thought it'd be really funny for this build to feature triple shotguns. I'm going to quickly go over why I picked these particular shotguns. Tractor cannon is very easy to explain because it is the only heavy shotgun slot that we have available to us. So if we want to go triple shotgun, it has to be tractor cannon in the heavy slot. But the tractor cannon does have a nice little benefit that it suppresses targets, it also weakens them, so it kind of acts as a support weapon. The loss of a traditional heavy weapon like a rocket or a grenade launcher normally would hurt you, but because we're going all in on shotguns, we still have so much damage in our other weapon slots. The way you should see your two legendary shotguns is one of them is your workhorse, and the other one is your big damage kind of gun. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, I could illustrate with an example. For example, I put Until Its Return in my kinetic slot, because it has and my version has auto loading and cascade point. When cascade point procs, it increases the weapon's rate of fire. So the idea is that if I need to just burst something down and it's a little tanky and maybe doesn't go down in a single shot of a shotgun, I would just throw on Until Its Return. Cascade point is probably procced at that point, and then just blam, blam, blam. All the shots just go into the guy. So that's the plan with the Until Its Return. But in a pinch, it can also work as just a normal shotgun. And then for my workhorse shotgun, I'm using Nessa's Ablation. Now, the big reason I use Nessa's Ablation is because it is a void weapon, and therefore it's the same affinity as tractor cannon, which means if I throw on Harmonic Siphon to say rapid void weapon kills, grant an orb of power, then I could do that with both Nessas and tractor cannons. So sort of the double dipping aspect here. If you don't have Nessas or don't have Until Its Return, you probably have tractor cannon, but if you don't have the other weapons, you could still use like whatever shotguns you like. I think standout perks for your shotgun could be Lead from Gold to keep ammo up. 1-2 punch works surprisingly well. Cascade point, of course, is great. So if you have a different shotgun with cascade point, those are the things I would really look out for. It's just some kind of like keep ammo up, or maybe like keep the reload down, or things like that. Now let's talk about the gameplay loop, and specifically how do we get Overshield. For starters, because of no backup plans, we know that getting final blows on a powerful target grants us an Overshield using one of our weapons. That's good, that's one way. Another way is to deal rapid final blows, so sort of it's the same criteria as the Siphon mods, where if you kill 2 minor enemies, in this case, within 5 seconds or so, that'll also grant you an Overshield. Our melee ability of choice is Shield Bash for multiple reasons. 1, it's a good mobility tool. 2, it goes really well because we are using shotguns, and as a result, we're wanting to be close to the action anyway. But 3rd, the big reason is that final blows with the Shield Bash grant an Overshield. So this is a 3rd way you can get Overshields. We're also going to use the Bastion aspect, which will allow both our Super and our Barricade to grant Overshield as well. And our super of choice will be Word of Dawn. I personally like Word of Dawn, mostly because I tried playing around with Sentinel Shield and just wasn't a big fan of it, but if you like Sentinel Shield, that works too. So those are the 5 ways that you can get Overshield. Now, how do you maintain your Overshield? Well, for starters, any additional shotgun final blows will refresh your Overshield. That's good. Offensive Bulwark will be our 2nd aspect, So that means any melee final blows will also extend the duration of the overshield. So while you have an overshield, punching something and killing it will extend your overshield. Because we're already doing a lot of rapid final blows and powered melee kills in order to do stuff with our overshield, that leads us into some of the mods that we're picking up. For one, Harmonic Siphon. This siphon should match your workhorse shotgun. Ideally, as I said before, it's a void shotgun, so it matches with tractor cannon. Whatever shotgun you're planning to use the most, I would say goes here. Another thing we're going to include is heavy-handed, so that powered melee final blows grant Orbs of Power. Additionally, for another way we'd get Orbs of Power, we're going to throw on Reaper as well. Now, what are we going to do with the Orbs of Power? Well, first off, we're going to throw on Invigoration to reduce our melee cooldown every time we pick up Orbs of Power. Our melee ability, the Shield Bash, is a great way to get Overshield, so it's just nice to keep it up. Also, we're going to throw on Orbs of Restoration. Having ability uptime in general is pretty nice, and this is just like a nice, sweet way to handle it. We're also going to throw on Powerful Attraction just to make it easier to pick up Orbs of Power in a pinch. And now the really big thing, Special Finisher. This is why we're grabbing all these Orbs of Power, is that we're getting Armor Charge so that we can generate special ammo. There is a problem with this build though, is that we're getting all this stuff to get Special Finisher. However, we have 3 different shotguns. It's really difficult in most content to get an enemy low enough so that they're in finisher range, right? Like if you're in most activities, even your basic punch is just gonna kill something. So in that case, what do you do? Well, in that case, this is where our grenade of choice comes in. Vortex Grenade is overall a really solid grenade option, but it has the unique benefit here of lasting for a duration of time and dealing its damage in small ticks. This means if you have some enemies, you can throw your Vortex Grenade not too far away from the enemies, but not so that the initial impact hits them, and the idea is that you can just start spamming the finisher button as you get close to where your grenade is. So the idea is that the Vortex Grenade is your way to chip out enemies and slowly get them into finisher range. I found this to be a little finicky, but it's kind of nice in case your teammates are killing things way too quickly, or you have an enemy in the perfect conditions except they're just not low enough. You can try to do some weird stuff with the Vortex Grenade. This will probably be the most difficult part of running this build, in my opinion, is your ability to get finishers to keep up your ammo count. Maintaining ammo count is a huge part of the skill ceiling for this build, and it's honestly a lot of fun. And Vortex Grenade, I think, fits that profile the best. Since we're on Vortex Grenade, let's throw some transfer mods. We're going to throw in Momentum Transfer so that our melee cooldown gets reduced while we're using a grenade, and also Bolstering Detonation so that our class ability also gets reduced. Now, how often can we get our Vortex Grenade back? It seems kind of odd if we have to ration our Vortex Grenade. Luckily, this build will also lean into Devour. Devour gives us increased grenade regen, and the way we set up our fragments will be really helpful in keeping up Devour. First up, we're going to include Echo of Starvation. Every time we pick up a Void Breach or an Orb of Power, grants Devour. Now, how are we generating Void Breaches? We have Echo of Domineering. Defeating suppressed targets creates a Void Breach. We have 2 ways to suppress targets. One is Tractor Cannon. So if you Tractor Cannon a larger target and then kill them with a shotgun, that counts towards Echo of Domineering. You would get a Void Breach. On top of that, Shield Bash also suppresses a target. So if you Shield Bash something, you're also getting a Void Breach there. Echo of Persistence is our 3rd fragment, and it increases our Devour and Overshield time. I had some trouble finding a spot for the 4th fragment, so this will be the secret way to create an Overshield. Echo of Vigilance. When you defeat a target while your shields are depleted, get a temporary Void Overshield. In practice, I don't know how often this really does occur, but it fits with the theming of the build, and nothing else seems to quite fit in my opinion. If you have something better, leave it in the comments. Because we're creating so many Void Breaches, we're also going to throw in Elemental Charge. So, in summary, we have a lot of different ways to create Overshields, just around killing enemies and doing a gameplay loop. We're going to have some really good ability uptime with the use of Devour and Void Breaches. With the use of Devour, Void Breaches, and our Leg Armor Piece Invigoration, Orbs of Power come into play mostly for Special Finisher, which is used to maintain our ammo count. With all this put together, you have a really solid game loop of create Overshield, maintain Overshield, get armor charges, get special ammo, repeat the process. The whole time you're doing that, you're using triple shotguns. This build has a high skill ceiling because of how efficient you can be with gaining armor charge and keeping up your ammo. That is part of what makes this build so fun, and I want to share with you guys a couple things I learned while playing this build. One combo that I found that was really effective was killing 2 enemies with a shotgun matching your harmonic siphon. That creates an orb of power because you rapidly kill 2 enemies, but that also gives you an overshield, so then you can use an uncharged melee to punch something while you have your overshield, and that'll give you a second orb of power. So if you kill 3 enemies in a really quick amount of time, you get an overshield, and also 2 orbs of power. A variation of this would be to use your class ability, which will proc Reaper and also give you an overshield, which means if you punch an enemy next, you get an orb of power, and then if you shotgun something else, you also get an orb of power. And if you shoot another enemy after that, you technically get a 3rd orb of power. But yeah, that's the idea of the combo, is that Reaper getting proc using your class ability, and then you could either punch something or shotgun something. If you do that quickly in succession, you can get 2 orbs of power. As you can see, there's a lot of different possibilities with how you get overshield and how that interplays into getting orbs of power. So sometimes it's a bit of a surprise when you're playing the game and you feel like you're getting more orbs of power than you expect. It's probably because you're interacting with all these different synergies around how overshields work and things like that. So that's honestly a really fun part of this build. And there you have it. This has been my no backup plans, go all in shotgun Void Titan build. This is probably some of the most fun I've had in Destiny in a while. A lot of people say double special loadouts are dead, but with the way this build is set up, I honestly had a lot of fun trying to run this in different strikes and things like that. I don't know if I recommend this a whole lot in endgame content, since a lot of endgame content involves either enemies being way too tanky in a Grandmaster Nightfall, or it involves boss DPS like in a dungeon or a raid. But this build has its place, in my opinion. Is a really good way to stimulate your brain while you're doing some of the easier content in the game, for example. And honestly, it's just a lot of fun. I was not expecting myself to enjoy this so much. So yeah, please give it a go, see how you like it, and I will catch you guys next time. Thank you guys so much. Bye-bye.